Okay, everyone, welcome to the webinar. Today's session is on 3 methods to spice up a review. It is testing time, so there are lots of opportunities to review your standards, and USA Test Prep can help. Today's focus is going to be on benchmark assessments, domain tests, and then projector-based review games that we offer. So let's go ahead and get started on benchmarks. For our benchmarks, there are 2 options. You can do basic mode or custom mode. When you choose basic mode, it builds an assessment for you that's going to match your state's testing parameters. For example, with Georgia Milestones, if you are taking a 6th grade ELA test, it's going to be 20% literary comp, 20% information and media literacy, 13% reading skills and vocab, 30% research writing, and 17% grammar and sentence structure. So our site will build an assessment for you that will match whatever content area you're in and whatever your state's testing requirements allow. In custom mode, you as the creator can go in and choose your own questions, content, the different types of questions you want to use, and you can customize and build your own assessment to use in your classroom. And it can be a formal assessment, an informal assessment, pre-test, post-test, so you can go in and build those. So I'm going to show you first where you even go in to build a benchmark. So on a teacher's homepage, underneath the avatar, there's a benchmarks tab. You click on this and then click on create new benchmark. And now I'm going to show you how to build a basic benchmark. So after you've got your benchmark titled and a few of the basic settings adjusted, the next option you'll see here is questions, and you're going to choose basic mode. When you choose basic mode, you'll see this prompt. Basic mode will choose questions based on actual test percentages. So that's, again, matching your state's testing parameters. So as an example, I took the grade 6 science EOG for Georgia, and this shows me the breakdown of 20%, 40%, and 40% for those 3 domains. So when we choose basic mode on our site, it will automatically build the test so that 20% of it is this domain and the other 40% domains are represented as well. When you choose custom mode, this allows you to then choose the questions you want to use. So the first thing you're going to do is choose which domain you want to pull questions from. Once you've chosen that domain, all of the standards or elements, indicators, depends on what your state calls it, will populate here. And you can click on these arrows to expand those elements to show all the different questions that we have inside that standard. So when you click on this arrow, the default is for 10 to populate, but you can always scroll through all the rest. After you've chosen the multiple choice or short answer questions you want to use from this screen on a custom benchmark, you can also choose the different types of questions you want to add, not counting just multiple choice and short answer. So we have the option for favorites, which is where you can save questions on our site that you want to use for at a later time. And you can also author your own questions through our favorites tab. We have our performance tasks, which are similar to interactive graphic organizers. Students are going to be interacting with the content more by manipulating it, so they'll have to drag and drop items or highlight items. We also have free response questions. Our free response questions are the only questions on our site that are not automatically graded, but we do provide an answer key or a sample response or a grading scale to use. And then finally, once you've selected all of these components, you'll see a preview of your benchmark so you can see the assessment that you've built. So another way that you can review using USA Test Prep are our domain tests. So as a teacher, you can go in and assign tests to students that will assess the progression through a domain. So it's going to pull questions from the different standards underneath the domain and give it to the students. As a student, they can log in and work independently through a domain test and report grades to their teachers. So this is what it looks like when you're logged in as a teacher. So from a teacher's homepage, you would click on the Assignments tab and then click on Create New Assignment. You would choose a single assignment and then choose your class that you want to build your assignment for. Give it a title, and then you're going to choose Test. You would choose your content, and then when you choose the type of test, you'll notice that domain test is listed here. So you'll just choose that domain test, and then you'll choose the domain that you'd like to give the test. So that's how you would assign it as a teacher. So when you're logged in as a student, this is a student's homepage, and up here shows you that it's a student page. Students can choose their content up at the top of the page. So the student's going to choose 6th grade and then science. And then for teachers, when you choose the content at the top of the page, teacher resources populate. For students, they will have the standards populate and then these 4 icons. Students can click on the orange Take a Test icon, which will then offer them several different types of tests. And the last one here is Begin a Domain-Specific Test. Students would choose that option and then choose their domain. It will tell them you're going to take a test in grade 6 science, the domain characteristics of science, all of the elements within the domain will be tested. It's going to be 20 questions, and then they have the option to report to a teacher. So you can have students work independently without giving them an assignment, and you can still track their progress because they can send their scores to you. So then they can choose their teacher, and then the test will load for them. And another way that you can use USA Test Prep to review is you can use our projector-based review games. So as a former teacher, these are some of my favorite tools to use with USA Test Prep in my classroom. So we have several different games that are available. And the first one is Battle Royale, and our little description for it is get ready to rumble with this team-based fighting match. And so what it does is it allows your students to be in teams, and they're going to be competing against one another. So when a team gets a question right, they get points, and then they also get to choose a team to lose points. So it's really fun, especially if you're really competitive students. The second projector-based review game we offer is Class Party, and that's where our site allows any mobile device or computer to be turned into a clicker. And as the teacher on your page, you can watch students' progress in real time. So you will be able to see each student as they're going in and which question number they're on and if they're getting them correct or incorrect. And you'll also get to see which questions are being answered correctly and incorrectly. The third projector-based review game we have is Thinkorswim, and it says transform your class into a game show with this team-based game. So it's very similar to Jeopardy, where students can be answering questions. I used it a lot in my classroom with handheld dry erase boards so that students could write down their answer and then hold them up, and I could get an idea of how they're doing. You can also put them into teams, and that way you can assign points to teams. And then the last review game we have is Time Bus, which is a team-based online board game. And the way that you get to these is when you're logged in as a teacher on your home page, you can either hover over the content areas at the top and then choose your class, or next to each of your classes there's a pink resource icon, and you can click on this and it'll take you to the same page. And then once you get to that page at the very bottom, you'll see our projector games, and then you'll choose them. So now I'm going to do a quick demo for you guys and show you all of that. So this is my sample teacher page. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you the benchmarks. So on my home page, I'll click on the benchmarks tab and then create new benchmark. Then I give it a name. I'm going to choose my content and click click continue, and now I have that option for basic or custom. So when I choose basic, it's going to let me know that it's going to choose questions based on actual test percentages. When I open that up, it reminds me of what those testing parameters are. And then I can choose the length that I would like. So a small lets me know up here in this corner that it's 15 questions worth 15 points. And I can expand that up to the actual test length, which is 60 questions worth 60 points. All I need to do from this point is click on continue and skip to preview. It builds my assessment for me and I'm ready to go. However, I can choose custom mode. And when I choose custom mode, it's going to allow me to choose the domain that I want to pull questions from and expand on all of these standards. So again, 10 are going to populate right away. We have a drop-down filter here that you can use. Our default is for it to be based on random, but you can adjust that to all these different filters. And then you can always click on the questions to do a question preview. And if this is a question you want to use on your assessment, you'll just click on add this question, and then you can scroll through the other questions we have. And you can just be clicking this and building your assessment as you scroll through the content. You can always load more questions from this screen, or you can add questions from another standard or from another domain. So you are in charge of the test bank. So you can choose what type of assessment you want to build, how difficult do you want it to be, and you are in control of all of these components. With building this, you can also, again, add your favorite questions, performance tasks, and free response questions, and then you'll get to do a preview to see your test. So that's building a benchmark. The second way to review that we discussed were domain tests. So since I'm logged in as a teacher right now, I'm going to show you from the teacher perspective first. So you'll click on the Assignments tab, and then click on New Assignment. You'll choose Single Assignment and choose your class, and click on Continue, and then you'll give it a name. You'll choose Test, then you'll choose your content, and then the type of test is Domain Test. And when you choose Domain Test, the domains will populate. You can choose the domain you want to give an assessment for, click Continue, and once you set up your start and end date, it'll assign it to your students, and this will give them a domain test to take. Now I'm going to show you how to do that from a student perspective. So I'm going to log in as a student. So I'm now logged in as a student, and for students, they can hover over their content, their grade level, and select the content. So we'll do a math one. And then this take a test icon is here, so students will click on this, and then they'll choose, for the domain specific test, they'll choose their domain, and then this screen will come up telling them they're going to take a test on the number domain, the number system with all the elements in that domain, 20 questions, and then they have the option. This student doesn't have a math teacher assigned, but if the student were in my math class, my name would be here. So the student is in my 6th grade science class as a sample. So just to show you what it looks like with a teacher, they can then click on my name, and this will send their results to me. So that's how students can take a domain assessment. I'm going to go ahead and log back into my account. So I'm back on my teacher page. And then the last thing I'm going to show you are those projector-based resources. So I've already shown you how you can choose your grade level and then content to pull up the teacher resources. So they're here at the bottom. You can also click on the pink icon next to your class, and this will take you to the teacher resource page as well. So when I scroll down here to the bottom, I see my projector games. So I'm just going to show you guys Battle Royale because that was always my favorite in my class. So I'm going to click on Battle Royale. It's going to ask you to name my teams. It's also going to ask me to choose an avatar for my team. So I'm going to have a ninja group and a robot group and a princess group and a goat group. So now my teams all have their cute little avatars. Click on continue, and now it's going to ask me to choose my content. So I'm going to get to expand on my domains, and I can select all of the different standards from within the domain that I would like to pull questions from. And I can choose different domains and all the different standards I'd like. So I've chosen a few that I'd like to pull questions from. I click on continue. It's going to give me my instructions, which I can read to my students, but after they played it once, they'll understand. And then I can click on begin. And now this is my review game. So when it's group A's turn, let's click that, and it's going to pull them a question, and group A is going to get a question that they can answer. And again, if they get it correct, they're going to get points, and they get to choose a team to lose points. If they get it incorrect, they lose points. And as a teacher, this is something that I love. You have control of the scoreboard. So you can always tell them, if I think your group's not paying attention, I can penalize your team. If I have that one group that's always working well together and paying attention, I can give them a bonus. So I can always go in and manipulate the scores. And we can also save and continue a game later. So if you have a group of kids that, their class is split up by lunch, or if you are practicing on a Thursday and you're reviewing on a Thursday and you don't finish, you have time on Friday, you can always save the game and finish it later. And then you can also end the game. So that is Battle Royale. But again, we also have Class Party, Thinkorswim, and Time Buzz. So now you know 3 different ways that USA Test Prep can help you review in your classroom. And these are fun, creative, innovative ways that you can use the website. So you can build your own assessments. You can let us build an assessment for you. You can choose to do a domain-based assessment to review the elements within a domain, or you can use one of our projector-based projector-based review games. If you have any questions, feel free to use the questions box on your control panel, and I'm happy to show you anything again or answer any questions you may have. If you don't have any questions, you are more than welcome to log out of the webinar. You will be receiving an email from me shortly with a link to the presentation and also a link to the recorded webinar, so you can reference it later if needed. In the email will be all of my contact information, so feel free to reply back to it or give me a call at my extension, and I'm happy to help you in any way. But like I said, if there are no questions, you are more than welcome to log out of the webinar. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.